The New York Jets, a team that has not really done a whole lot the past decade outside of drafting high. And they did the exact same thing this past season. They sucked on the football field and they drafted high. But there's some hope, there's some optimism that this regime actually knows what they are doing, which is a rare sight for the New York Jets. But they made some pretty good offseason moves. They moved off some players that they clearly needed to, and they had an extremely strong draft. So maybe 2026 isn't the season for the Jets, but you can look at 2026 as the launching pad for the future Jets, the Jets that are riddled with good talent all over the field and can actually do something competent and maybe break that long playoff drought. So today, I'm going to preview the 2026 New York Jets. Now I'm going to talk about why this season is very important, not only for this franchise, but for the people in charge of running it. The New York Jets really made some smart moves in free agency. Letting Alijah Vera-Tucker walk, I think, is incredibly smart because when you are building out a young roster, you need consistent offensive line play, consistent guard play. Alijah Vera-Tucker, as talented as he is when he plays on a football Sunday, doesn't always play on a football Sunday. He's missed a lot of time for the Jets, and that's not really good to build out a roster of unreliability when you need that when you have a young quarterback, because you don't want to see him get popped from the middle every other play because a backup is playing. I overall really like that move, and I think it's an underrated move. Michael Clemens, I think, is solid. He had a really good season for the Jets last year, but I wouldn't say paying him $5.6 million a year is anything major. It's going to get them a compensatory pick more than likely when every deal is added up, so overall fine. John Simpson going to the Ravens, that's a major need for the Ravens. They needed something at the guard position. But the Jets, they're going to get younger at that position. They're going to figure it out without needing John Simpson and paying him $10 million a year. Overall, fine. Tyrod Taylor, losing him. I think Tyrod Taylor is a good veteran quarterback to have in a locker room, but he's not going to give you a lot on a playing basis for a game. Now, the major player they moved off of in the biggest addition by subtraction the Jets could have made was getting rid of Justin Fields. And I was very anti Justin Fields going to the Jets last year. I thought it was a dumb move. I thought they overpaid him. And I was proven right. And why was I right? I'm a Steelers fan. I saw him the year prior, and I saw every issue he had in Chicago come up with Pittsburgh, and then it returned with the Jets again. This is not someone you want to build your team around, really use in any position at all, unless you argue, hey, maybe the Jets are a worse tanking team having Geno Smith as the quarterback instead of Justin Fields. And I understand that logic because Geno Smith has shown in Seattle he can go on a hot streak and really win some games. And the Jets don't really want to win games. So if that's the logic you want to point out, and maybe you should have kept Justin Fields because of that, I understand that logic 100%. But I don't think any Jets fan wanted to relive the Justin Fields experience again. Now, looking at people they brought in, Demario Davis, the ageless wonder. I don't know how he's still playing this good at practically 38 years old. He is a medical marvel, and I'm so excited to see him play for the Jets again. And I really think that this is a big move for the Jets in the right direction, as Demario Davis is very familiar with Aaron Glenn's system. When Aaron Glenn was becoming a head coach, he had many interviews for the Saints, and a lot of people thought he was going to take the Saints job. And he really is a giant fan of Demario Davis. I don't think that's a secret at all. Demario Davis can come in, run his defense, be that quarterback of the defense that the Jets need, and really help along younger players throughout the season. And they also brought in Joseph Asai, who I think is a solid player. I don't know if he's better than Michael Clemens. I straight up don't know, and they paid him more than Michael Clemens. But he was on a Bengals team that really didn't have much around him, and he had some good production, he had some good film, he had some good pass rushing reps. Maybe in a new spot, in a new defense, in a new just overall system for him to be at, just including team, location. Some people just need a fresh start to really get going, and this could be the theme for Joseph Asai. Might be an overpayment, but the Jets had a lot of money they need to spend, and he is far from a bad player to sign to a contract. But now, I really want to hammer home the Geno Smith thing, because Geno Smith is the key to this Jets team. If Geno performs like Seattle Geno, they are going to overachieve. And I know that's crazy to say, but you look at this Jets offensive line. It's a pretty good offensive line. And he did not have an offensive line at the Raiders last year. That's a big issue of why Geno Smith struggled so much. Was the offensive line play for the Raiders was an outright disaster. And he has Breece Hall. He has a lot of pieces going for him. He's got Garrett Wilson outside. He's got A.D. Mitchell. He's got a first-round pick in Omar Cooper Jr. Geno Smith might play the Jets out of the position of drafting a top quarterback because he is still a talented player and he's got talent around him, unlike last year. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to follow throughout the season. The Jets had a very good draft. And I say that as someone who's actually lower on their 3 first picks than everyone else. But I see the vision, I see with what they're going for, and overall, I still really like it. For those who don't know, David Bailey, I was far lower on than many other people. And it's not because I think he's a bad player. It's because I thought he was a little bit raw as a power pass rusher. And his speed pass rushing ability, which is very quick, very good get off and everything, I'm afraid he's going to have time struggling to the NFL's power game. And if he does, that's going to take a little bit of time to adjust. But overall, the Jets taking him, even though I personally wouldn't have, it's fine. It makes sense because they're not in a win-now mode this year. He has time to learn. He has time to develop. He has time to grow into the NFL power rusher he needs to be. Overall, maybe not the pick I would make, but it's a fine, solid pick. Kenyon Sadiq. This is probably the pick I will disagree on the most of the Jets, just because I was so much lower on Kenyon Sadiq than everyone. He is an athletic freak at the tight end position, but I'm really concerned about him just playing as the tight end in general. I understand they'll do a lot of 12 personnel, and this is not a where you don't like Mason Taylor pick. A lot of NFL teams run 2 tight end sets now that's just the modern NFL offense. So they will both be utilized. But I just really can't say Kenyon Sadiq is the type of second tight end I would really look to draft when I have Mason Taylor already. I'd understand it if the Jets didn't have a guy, but they do. And also, I don't really trust Sadiq as much being a tight end. And you can argue, hey, big slot, big slot. I'm to the point as a football fan, I would just rather see a slot wide receiver in the slot position than a big tight end. Just personal preference. Omar Cooper Jr. Again, was lower on him, but I think he's a very good, solid receiver. He's not someone that ever blew me away when watching his film. He's not someone I was pounding my fist on the table like, this team needs to draft, this team needs to draft. But he's a stabilizing unit at the wide receiver position. I don't know if he'll ever become a legitimate 2-number receiver. I think he is perfect as a third option, perfectly will be utilized in a slot and can go outside as well, but I'd really prefer to use him in a slot. I don't think he's got breakaway speed, which really has me limiting him as a player projection, but still a good solid player that the Jets just need. Now we get to my favorite pick, D'Angelo Ponds. D'Angelo Ponds was one of my favorite corners because I didn't care about his size. I thought he played great when he was in contested catch situations, when he had to man up, when he had to play zone. His instincts on the football were tremendous. I did not care about his height whatsoever. His height was a nothing burger to me. It didn't matter because I watched the film over and over again. He was beating receivers taller than him. He was out physically receivers taller than him, bigger than him. It didn't matter. D'Angelo Ponds was going to pull you into the water and make your life miserable. And I love that. Darrell Jackson Jr. Like, you look at Darrell Jackson Jr., you're like, that's a football player. Just an enormous size with some pretty good physical features. He's got some good speed. He's got really good power. He is flawed as a technical pass rusher, run stuffer. It's very flawed. His handwork needs to be improved. His footwork needs to be improved. But that's the type of guy you take a chance on if you're a team that's not going to really win a lot of games this year. You want these big physical freaks that you can maybe mold into something, especially when your head coach is a defensive mind like Aaron Glenn is. Cade Klubnik. Okay, maybe I was a little too harsh on Kenyon Sadiq. Cade Klubnik, I would not have drafted. I'm going to skip over him because I just never thought he was a draftable player in my opinion. Inez Cooper from Miami, road grader, physical guard. I really do think he can work out well for the Jets' offensive scheme if it's a really run-focused offense, which the Jets will most likely be with Breece Hall. I don't know when he'll get his playing time. I suspect he'll do really well in the preseason as he'll be dominant against backups. Be curious to see what happens when he goes against starters who are more technically sound and can maybe pull him out of areas he's comfortable in into areas he's not comfortable in. I'm very curious to see how that goes. Overall, though, I do like him as a player, especially when you're drafting a guy in the 6th round. And VG Payne, I didn't watch a whole bunch of. From everything I read up on him, is he was a long-term starter, captain, and had some good ability to play in a box safety role. But outside of that, I can't speak too much on him. But overall, the Jets draft, I like it because it's the draft of a team that's rebuilding and they know they're rebuilding. They're not trying to draft win-now players. We need to win, we need to win, we need to win to save our jobs, which maybe is a mistake for the current regime, as we don't know their job security. We don't know what Woody Johnson has promised them. But when you look at with what you want to see your team do when you are the 2nd pick in the draft, you're one of the worst teams in the draft, you need to just draft guys that can project into something special one day. And the Jets very much did that, and I commend that mentality when you look at drafting for a bad team. Now, looking at the 2026 Jets, it's not the best team in the world. It's not, in my opinion, the worst team in the NFL, as I think Geno Smith is an adequate quarterback if you give him protection. They have a talented receiver room. They have Breece Hall. They have a really good offensive line that I just love. And their defense has some pieces. And they're overall in a fine spot. I mean, you look at the amount of draft picks they have over the next couple of years. The fact they got the Colts 1st-round pick next year, which I think could be a very good pick when you look at the Colts and everything going into this season for them, it might be a top 10 pick. And the Jets can have 2 top 10 picks. That's a great thing with a rebuilding team, especially if they don't finish in a top 3 position to draft their next quarterback, where they have to trade up. And maybe that extra top 10 pick gets you the chance to draft an Arch Manning, gets you the chance to draft a Dante Moore, gets you the chance to really give your fan base some hope and optimism. And I think the Jets are really headed the right direction. But the big question is, will Aaron Glenn be given the chance to man this team for the future? I don't know. And that's the big thing is with Woody Johnson, he might just pull the trigger and say, nope, you're gone. You're gone. I'm unhappy. I need a new guy to yell and scream at. And that's not right to Aaron Glenn, as Aaron Glenn is a really good coach, in my opinion. He has team buy-in. You watched the Jets last year. They didn't quit. They just sucked. And that's a big difference from seeing a coach who has no buy-in whatsoever. The team just wasn't good. And I think it's very interesting with how this team is structured, because there is a world where this Jets team could win 8 football games, and I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. Like I said, they have talent. Their offense is overall relatively a good unit. They just are missing a couple pieces. And overall, it's why I really think if this team can get a young quarterback that's ready, they are trouble in the making. And it's honestly why I have them finishing 3rd in their own division. And maybe part of that is because the Dolphins are really, really bad, like abysmal levels of bad. And the Jets, they're competent. And that's probably a step in the right direction when you look at this Jets team last year where they weren't competent. They had Justin Fields as their quarterback. They had games that were started by Tyrod Taylor and Brady Cook in 2025, which isn't a recipe for success. But they have a good offensive line, they have a good running back, they have a good receiving core, and they have a young, talented defense that has pieces coming on its way. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you'd share this, I greatly appreciate it. I'm doing 32 in 32 days. 32 consecutive team previews in 32 days in a row. We are so close to the finish, and if you want to see me lose my mind about my team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, that will be dropping in a couple days, and if you're watching this a couple days later, it is out, and I'd recommend that, as I will scream my lungs into oblivion. But I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope y'all have an amazing day.